Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our class on Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today we will continue our study on chapter number 6 of canto number 2, and we will continue this journey starting from verse number 23, and today we are going to cover till verse number 38. Although there are 46 verses total, I tried my best to cover all the 46 verses, but I think today we will be only able to cover till verse number 38. The title of this chapter, as given by Prabhupada, is Purush Sukta Confirmed. We have had elaborate discussion on this issue, why Prabhupada titled this as Purush Sukta Confirmed. So we will not go into that detail. You can refer to the previous classes if you have not attended previous classes. And overall, this is our 70th class on Srimad Bhagavatam study program that we have started almost maybe 1.5 years ago. We will start with Mangalacharan prayers. Anybody would like to recite Mangalacharan prayer? We could not delegate it to someone, some specific devotee this time. So anyone who would like to volunteer?
I can do, Prabhu.
Okay, Manishji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Displaying the screen.
Are you not able to see the screen?
No.
Okay, what happened? Just 1 second.
Yes.
I'll once again start sharing it. Are you able
Yeah.
to see?
Now. Yes. Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnavamcham.
Just one
Again,
second.
okay, sorry.
Now,
Yes. Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Guru. Oh, again it is gone.
gone.
Yeah.
One second.
Yes, yes.
Can you see now?
Yes, yes, yes. We will restart it. Yeah. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnavamcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सह गणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा
Yes,
प्रभु।
Prabhu. Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Very nicely recited all the prayers. So we move to the next part. So we'll do the recap of the previous class. We could not delegate it to any devotee this time, so I myself will do the recap. So we covered verses from 23 till sorry, from verses number 13th to 22nd in the previous class of the chapter 6 of Canto 2. So in verses 13 to 16, the main message that has been given in this discussion, the discussion is going on between Brahmaji and Narad Muni. Narad Muni has asked several questions to Brahmaji, and now Brahmaji is asking and answering those questions. And in one of those questions which Narad Muni had asked, what is this universe composed of? So Brahmaji replies that actually the universe is mainly composed of the Lord. The Lord, what it means is that the universe, the Lord is the both the material and the effective cause of the universe. So whatever ingredients this universe is composed of comes from the Lord, and the Lord Himself enters into the universe to make this universe functional. That is the main discussion going on. So in that regard, in verse number 13 to 16, what Brahmaji is telling to Narad Muni is that all living beings and whatever existed in past, present, and future all rest on the universal form of the Lord. So, whenever we read this phrase, universal form, so universal form is nothing but the whatever material universe is created by the Lord. uh, Universal form is something which is a human-like form that has been imagined for the benefit of some transcendentalist. So, universal form, when we hear this verse, when we hear these words, actually means universe, the material universe that has been created by the Lord. So, all living beings and whatever existed in past, present, future, all rest on the universal form of the Lord. Lord is transcendental to all of them. So, in these verses, there was a phrase that if the length and breadth of the universe is imagined to be maybe some dimension, then the Lord extends beyond this dimension by 10 fingers. Now, that is not a very literal meaning, not to be taken here, only a figurative meaning to be taken here. That what it means is that the Lord is beyond this universe. What does it mean, Lord is beyond this universe? What it means that for controlling and managing this universe, the Lord Himself does not personally take part in the activities of this universe. Rather, He controls and manages this universe uh, through His energies. That is the main idea. So, again, we saw that here it is mentioned past, present, and future. The similar thing is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also in chapter 11, where Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that whatever you want to see now, whatever you wanted to see in the past, or whatever you wanted to see in the future, it's all available at one place in this universal form that I'm displaying it to you. So the idea is mainly that everything is dependent on the Lord. That is the ultimate message from these verse number 13 to 16. Then in verse number 17, so far Brahmaji mentioned to Narad Muni that the Lord is the material cause of this universe. But in 17th verse, Brahmaji also mentioned that the effective cause of this universe is also the Lord. He's energizing it both from the inside and the outside. And then there was one analogy given of the pranavayu. So the vayu exists outside also for us to breathe oxygen, and the pranavayu also exists inside our body for the function of some bodily functions, for carrying out some bodily functions. So similarly, the Lord is also the effective cause. And in the previous classes, we have discussed this difference between what do you mean by material cause and what do you mean by the effective cause. Material cause by the analogy of the a potter, like the potter. Uh, for if somebody asks what is the if material cause for a pot, we can say it is clay or water, and what is the effective cause of the pot, we can say it is the potter. Potter means the person who is making the pot. So we understand the difference between what is the effective cause and what is the material cause. Material cause in Sanskrit may call it upadan karan, and effective cause would mean nimitta karan, nimittik karan, like that. So this concludes at verse number 17. We conclude the first section of this chapter, where the answer yacha, what is this universe composed of, has been answered by Brahmaji to Narad Muni. Now Brahmaji now changes the discussion. He goes further. He is now telling to Narad Muni that Lord is not only the material and effective cause of this universe, but actually there is another creation. There is another creation. The Lord is also the cause for the spiritual creation also. So besides this material world, besides this universal creation, the Lord also creates the spiritual world. So that is where he starts this discussion from the verse 18, that the Lord is the Lord of both the worlds, material as well as spiritual. And then in verse number 19, he says that this material universe is only one fourth of his energy. So total creation, if we have to imagine, this material creation is only one fourth, 25%, and the rest 75% is the Tripad Vibhuti, that is the spiritual creation. And spiritual creation is different from material creation. How? Spiritual creation is deathless, it is full of happiness, and it is full of fearlessness. On the contrary, in the material universe, it is characterized by death, it is characterized by misery, and it is characterized by fear. So, this is the contrast between the material and the spiritual creation. Then, in verse number 20, he further goes on elaborating on the nature of the spiritual creation, the Tripad Vibhuti. Tripad Vibhuti is meant for saintly people, and Ekpad Vibhuti is meant for materialists. That is the difference. Then in verse number 21, he mentions that uh, who all are qualified to live in the Ekpad Vibhuti and who all are qualified to live in the Tripad Vibhuti. So those living entities which are ignorant, which are full of avidya, they actually want to live in the Ekpad Vibhuti. They wander on the path of enjoyment. Enjoyment means sense enjoyment. And those jivas who are full of vidya, who are full of knowledge, they wander on the path of liberation. And both paths are managed by the Supreme Lord only. Then the last verse of the previous class that we discussed was the verse number 22, where Brahmaji is telling to Narad Muni, although both Ekpad Vibhuti and Tripad Vibhuti are the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Lord is controlling all of them, but Lord is beyond Ekpad Vibhuti and remains in the spiritual world. Now, what does it mean? That the Lord does not get engaged into the functions of the Ekpad Vibhuti or the material world by directly getting into it. Rather, he manages it through his energies. So we will discuss a little bit more about the same thing in the coming class today. So that is the idea. So in verse number 18 to 22, the message that Brahmaji is giving to Narad Muni is that the Supreme Lord is also managing both the worlds, the material world as well as the spiritual world. So that is the main idea. Now he will go on to describe uh, some more details about it. So we will quickly go to those verses. So I'm moving to the verse number 30, verse number 23. Hmm. So here we come to the verse number 23. Hmm. Now, from verse number 23 onwards, Brahmaji is explaining by giving his own experience, by giving his own example. So far, Brahmaji has mentioned to Narad Muni that Lord is the effective as well as the material cause of this universe, of the material universe. Now, Brahmaji will explain the same point to Narad Muni uh, by giving his own experience. So far, Brahmaji mentioned from verse number 1 till 7, 1 till 16. Brahmaji has explained all this through Shabda, but now he will explain it by his own experience, by his own pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means he himself experienced whatever he mentioned just now, he himself experienced. So, how does he explain that? He explains that uh, in this verse, verse number 23. So, we will request some devotees to read the verse. So, maybe can we
I
ask
can
for
read.
some volunteers?
I can read.
Okay, Manish ji,
I can read, Prabhuji.
Charumati Prabhuji, Charumati Mataji also can. Okay, Manish Prabhu, please read. Yeah.
Yes. When I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of Lord Mahavishnu, the great person, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performances except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead.
Hmm. Okay. So, what happened was Brahmaji is now narrating his own experience. So, he's saying that when I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord. So, we know that when this creation happened, Brahmaji took birth. How he took birth? A lotus emanated from the navel of the Lord, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and on this lotus, Brahmaji took birth. That is how Brahmaji came into existence. So another name for Brahmaji is also called as Swayambhu. So Swayambhu means one who got birth by all by himself. Actually, the Lord is the father and mother of Lord Brahma. But Swayambhu means it is mainly to differentiate between how other living entities take birth in this material universe versus how Lord Brahma took birth. So other living entities take birth because they have a father and a mother. When the father and the mother unite, then the living entity takes birth. But in the case of Brahmaji, he is known as Swayambhu, one who has taken birth without any mother and father. So what happened was after Brahmaji took birth, he could not see anything in the universe. It was all dark. He had nothing to see. And then within the heart of the Brahmaji, uh, the Lord inspired him to do some tapasya. Hmm? Uh, and in order to do that tapasya, hmm, uh, the Lord gave Brahmaji knowledge from inside how to do that tapasya. And after the Brahmaji completed his tapasya, he was encouraged to do some sacrifice. And when Lord Brahma wanted to do the sacrifice, he was requiring some ingredients to do that sacrifice, some yajna. So, in order to do that sacrifice, Lord Brahma needed some ingredients. Now, where to get these ingredients? So, Lord Garbhodakshai Vishnu inspired Lord Brahma from within the heart to get those ingredients from the limbs of the body of the Lord. So that is how Lord Brahma collected these ingredients for sacrifice. So, how Brahmaji is trying to say is that whatever I have described to you so far, Narad, like from verse number 1 till verse number 16, that the Lord is the material cause, but it actually happened with me also. When I took birth, I wanted to do the sacrifice, and for doing that sacrifice, I needed some ingredients, and Lord inspired me from within my heart from where to get these ingredients, and I understood that I need to get these ingredients from the limbs of the Lord. So the point what we are trying to make here is that he wanted to worship the Lord, and in order to worship the Lord, the ingredients were coming from the body of the Lord himself. So that is the main point. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains this point that Lord is worshipped by the ingredients that come from the Lord only. Like, for example, when we have to worship earth, Then how do we worship earth? We worship earth by offering fruits and flowers. And from where do these fruits and flowers come from? It comes from the earth element only. And similarly, how do we worship Ganges, river Ganges? We worship river Ganges by offering the Ganges, the Ganga water only. And even in our day-to-day life, how do we offer arti to the Lord? What do we offer in the arti to the Lord? We will offer, say for example, we will offer incense first of all. So what is incense? Incense is gandha. So gandha is coming from where? It is coming from the earth element. Then we offer deepa. Deepa is fire element. Then we offer maybe flowers. Flowers is again the earth element. Then we offer maybe some water. Water is also coming from the Lord Himself. So the point is, the Lord is worshipped by the elements, by the ingredients which are coming from the Lord Himself. But here, Brahmaji is telling that when I wanted to offer this sacrifice, for that sacrifice I needed those ingredients. And from where did I collected those ingredients? I collected those ingredients from the body of the Lord only, from the limbs of the Lord. So here he's saying, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performance except the bodily limbs of the great personality of the Godhead. Okay, we go to the verse number 24. Manishji, please read 24th.
For performing sacrificial ceremonies, one requires sacrificial ingredients such as flowers, leaves, and straw, along with the sacrificial altar and a suitable time, spring.
25th.
Yeah. Other requirements are utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rigveda, Yajurveda, and Samveda, and four priests to perform the sacrifice.
Very good. Okay.
Other necessities include invoking the different names of the demigods by specific hymns and vows of recompense in accordance with particular scripture for specific purposes and by specific processes.
Yeah. Now, Brahmaji is giving this description from verse number 24th, 25th, and 26th. In these three verses, he is telling that what were the different ingredients he wanted to use for the sacrificial ceremony, for that yajna. And here he is mentioning that for doing this yajna, what we want flowers, we want leaves, and straw, along with the sacrificial altar and a suitable time. And then in the 25th, he's saying about utensils, grains, clarified butter. Clarified butter is nothing but ghee, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and the Sam Veda, and the four priests to perform the sacrifice. Now, so these are the various ingredients, and from where the Brahmaji collected these ingredients? Brahmaji collected all these ingredients from the limbs of the body of the Lord. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada elaborates a little bit on this point, like four priests to perform the sacrifice. So, there is a description of what kind of priests are they. So, he's saying that these four priests are one of the priests, the duty of one of the priests is to throw the ingredients of sacrifice into the yajna fire. And then the second priest is mainly who will recite the verses. Then the third priest is mainly to ignite the fire. The fourth priest is mainly the overseer. He supervises the yajna ceremony, the sacrificial ceremony. Now, Prabhupada also mentioned another point is that in today's age, these qualified priests are not found. So these yajna ceremony are very specific ceremony. There is a very detailed process, a specific process, and has to be performed according to the process. And in the time and age today, these specified qualified priests are not found. So not possible to perform these kind of yajna in today's time and age. And the best possible yajna that we need to perform today in today's time and age is the Sankirtan yajna. That is the best yajna that we should perform in today's Kali Yuga period. And in the 26th verse, he's again giving that detail, like I'm mentioning right now, that other necessities include invoking the different names of demigods by specific hymns and vows to recompense in accordance with the particular scripture for specific purposes and by specific processes. So sometimes we see in today's time also people are performing these yajna ceremonies. But what is the difference between the yajna ceremony performed by Brahmaji and the yajna ceremony people perform today? That is the main difference is that Brahmaji collected these ingredients from the limbs of the body of the Lord. Although we also get these ingredients uh, in today's time and age that are also coming from the Lord, but we don't visualize that these ingredients actually are coming from the Lord. We think that we are purchasing these ingredients from a nearby shop. In case of Brahmaji had this experience that he got these ingredients directly from the limbs of the body of the Lord, like that. That is the main difference. So
Prabhuji,
yes.
one question.
Hmm.
So, Prabhuji,
Yes.
here the priest, because Brahmaji is the first one to be born, correct, from the Lord. So,
Hmm.
how these four priests we are mentioning, so Brahmaji will expand and create the priest. So,
Yeah,
how
good
the
question.
priest will come into picture now only?
Yeah, good question. See, the idea is when Brahmaji takes birth, the Lord gives him the knowledge and intelligence through the heart how to do the creation. So, first of all, Brahmaji does the creation, and all these priests also come in that creation. So, right now you will find all these details in the later part of Bhagavatam. Right now, what is mentioned here is that Brahmaji wanted to perform some austerity, wanted to perform some sacrifice. So before that, the creation had already happened and ingredients were already available. These four priests were also available, and then Brahmaji did this sacrifice. That is the main point. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. So the way it has been narrated in this chapter, it appears that I mean, from where did the priest came? Now later on, you will see in the 27th verse there is more detail. So yeah. Please read the
So, thus,
27th.
yeah, thus I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the Lord. By invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained, and thus compensation and ultimate offering were complete.
Just now, okay. We'll discuss only 27th now. I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the Lord. So this is what Brahmaji is saying, his own experience. So he is actually collecting this from the personal bodily parts of the Lord. And then by invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained, and thus compensation and ultimate offering were complete. So compensation means when you do a yajna, so the priests who are doing the yajna, we need to compensate them. We need to give them dakshina. And then the ultimate offering means that the purna ahuti. The purna ahuti means like the sacrifice that we are offering to the yajna, that ahuti was complete, like that. So in this yajna, the demigods' names were recited. The compensation means the dakshina was given to the priests, and then the purna ahuti was done, like that. But here in this verse, what is more important to understand is the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained. So after describing the components of sacrifice in the verse number 24, 25, 26, here in the verse number 27, the true purpose of sacrifice is mentioned. True purpose of sacrifice is mentioned. And what is the true purpose of sacrifice? True purpose of sacrifice is to attain Lord Vishnu. So the priests were invoking the names of demigods, but ultimate goal of the sacrifice was Lord Vishnu. So we need to understand what is actually yajna. So you might have heard this name yajna number of times, but yajna, the broader meaning and purpose of yajna is sacrifice. Sacrifice means that one person takes some austerity or take some do something else for the other person. That is actually means sacrifice. Like for example, if I have some resources with me and I voluntarily allocate some of that part of those resources to some other person. So I'm sacrificing my part, my share, in the benefit or in the interest of the other person. So that is the general meaning of sacrifice. So people in general would sacrifice for their family, for their society, for their nation, for humanity in general, like that. But the best sacrifice is what we do for the Supreme Lord. That is the best form of sacrifice. Like you would hear in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, yagyartharth karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. So in the chapter number 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that one should perform any activity mainly for the benefit of Lord Vishnu. Yagya, Yagya, the another name for Lord Vishnu is Yagya. Hmm? So Yagyartharth karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. So if you do activity for Lord Vishnu, uh, if you do not do any activity for Lord Vishnu, then you will be bound by karma. Whatever karma you will do, you will be bound by that. Yagyarthat karmano anyatra. So do any activity for yagya for Lord Vishnu. If you do anything else, it will be the cause of bondage for you. That is the main message that is given in the Bhagavad Gita. So sacrifice or yagya is something which needs to be done for somebody else. So, like what we do in yagya, we have this yagya fire, and then we have this ahuti, we have various ingredients, various grains, etc., which we offer to the fire. Now, the fire of this yagya is considered to be the tongue of Lord Vishnu. So, whatever we are offering in this Vedic yagya, it is being received by Lord Vishnu or by through the agency of demigods, various demigods. It goes to the demigods and demigods offer it to Lord Vishnu. That is the idea. So in verse number 27, the main message is that the ultimate goal Vishnu was gradually attained, and thus the compensation and the ultimate offering was complete. That is the idea. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
read 28, Prabhu.
Yeah. Thus, I created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, the enjoyer of the sacrifice, and I perform the sacrifice to satisfy the Lord.
And I performed the sacrifice to satisfy the Lord. Now, further elaborating on this concept of yajna. So, in this verse, what I mentioned just now from Bhagavad Gita, yagyarthat karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhana. How do we understand it in a more uh, simpler terms? Uh, Say whatever we do, we should do it for Lord Vishnu. That is the meaning of the word yagyarthat karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Or in general, the definition of the word karma yoga. So karma yoga means doing work for Vishnu. How do we understand that? We need to understand that the universe or the material existence that we are living, actually, the Supreme Lord is the in charge of this creation, this universe. Like what we are reading in this chapter number 6, that the Lord Vishnu is creating all the ingredients, everything is coming from him. Uh, he's providing the ingredients, he's doing the creation, everything is done by the Lord Vishnu. So like for example, if we work for a company, in a company, when we are working, for whom we are working? We are working for the proprietor of the company. Ultimately, we are working for the proprietor of the company. The proprietor of the company is responsible for giving us the salary, for giving us various facilities in the company. So, for example, if we have a laptop, we need to use that laptop for the service of the proprietor of the company. And if we don't use it for the service of the proprietor, then we will use it for our own purposes. And if we use it for our own purposes, the company may penalize us. So similarly, this verse, yagyarthat karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. So whenever we do some yagya actually means doing some work for Lord Vishnu, because he is actually the proprietor. He is actually the Supreme Lord. So if we manage our life in such a way that we are always working for the interest of Lord Vishnu, then we will not get bound. We will not get bondage. That is the idea. So similarly, in the verse number 28, Brahmaji is saying, thus I created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, the enjoyer of the sacrifice. And I performed the sacrifice to satisfy the Lord. To satisfy the Lord. What does it mean? We are working in the company to satisfy the proprietor of the company. So similarly, Brahmaji is doing this sacrifice to satisfy whom? Lord. And from where ingredients are coming? The ingredients are coming from the Lord. Since the ingredients are coming from the Lord, it has to be used for the service of the Lord. So similarly, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita also, chapter number 5, there is a verse called Bhoktaram Yagya Tapsam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapsam. So the Supreme Lord is actually the enjoyer of all the sacrifices, of all the austerities. He is the Supreme Lord of all the universes, like that. So the verse number 28 also corresponds to verse number 6 of the Purush Sukta prayer. So you can see these Purush Sukta prayers on the page number 210 of Subodhini. So the idea mainly in this prayer is again that the Supreme Lord is the ultimate enjoyer of all these sacrifices. So that is the idea. Now we will not go into the detail of what exactly is that prayer. It is available in Subodhini. You can refer to it. You can read it. But the main intention of Purush Sukta prayer has already been discussed to you with you in the previous classes. That in this chapter we will find those verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which are exactly similar to or very closely similar to the prayers in Purush Sukta prayers. And the idea is in Purush Sukta prayers, it is not mentioned who that Purusha is. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand who that Purusha is. That Purusha is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. That is the main message. Okay, now we go to verse number 29.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
My dear son, thereafter your 9 brothers, who are the masters of living creatures, perform the sacrifice with proper rituals to satisfy both the manifested and non-manifested personalities.
Now, Manishji, now you might have questioned that from where these 9 brothers are coming, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the point is, Brahmaji had already done the creation. He had created the ingredients, he had created different living entities, and all that happened from the all those ingredients actually had come from the limbs of the body of the Lord. Okay, and when he is mentioning in verse number 29, thereafter your 9 brothers, who are the masters of living creatures, perform the sacrifice with proper rituals to satisfy both the manifested and non-manifested personalities. Now here, the 9 brothers means there were various living entities who Brahmaji created along with Narad Muni. I will tell you the name of these various 9 brothers of Brahmaji, of Narad Muni. These are Marichi, Atri, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Daksha, Angira, Vasishta, and Bhragu. So these are the names of the various 9 brothers of Narad Muni. So Narad Muni, along with the 9 brothers, were created by Lord Brahma. And then these 9 brothers, they also performed the sacrifices with proper rituals to satisfy both manifested and non-manifested personalities. Now, what do you mean by manifested personalities? So in the older times, when the yajna was performed, then the demigods will also come. So they are being mentioned here as the manifested, like the devatas. So they were present in the yajna ceremony, and the result of that yajna was offered to the devatas. And non-manifested personalities. Non-manifested personality here is referring to the Supreme Lord. So the Supreme Lord was not seen, but the devatas were seen. In today's time, neither the Supreme Lord is available in the yajna nor the devatas are available in the yajna. So uh, uh, so what now? Again, the same question you might have asked Manish ji, that from where these 9 brothers are coming. So the point is that Lord Brahma had already created the universe. The ingredients were available, and the various creatures were also available. But the difference mainly here is when the 9 brothers did the sacrifice, they did not get the ingredients from the bodily limbs of the Lord. Brahmaji got those ingredients from the bodily limbs, but these 9 brothers did not get the. For them, the ingredients were available in the universe, and they just made them, arranged for them, collected them, and then did this sacrifice. Okay. This verse number 29 resembles the Purusukta verse number 8. So again, re-emphasizing on the point that the Bhagavatam verses in chapter number 6 are closely resembling the Purusukta prayers. Okay, please read verse number 30.
Yeah. Thereafter, the Manus, the father of mankind, the great sages, the forefathers, the learned scholars, the Daityas, and mankind perform the sacrifices mean to please the Supreme Lord.
So he is giving this idea that I performed the sacrifice, but I collected the ingredients myself from the limbs. And later on, when I had done the creation, I had created the ingredients, I had created various living entities. Those other living entities also did the same sacrifice. So, first of all, the 9 brothers did, your 9 brothers did, and then Manu, the father of mankind, and the great sages, the forefathers, the learned scholars, the Daityas, and the mankind. The mankind means like people like us. They also performed the sacrifice meant to please the Supreme Lord. Meant to please the Supreme Lord. So when these people also had the opportunity, they also performed the sacrifices. That is the idea. I hope that is clear now, Prabhu.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Now we invite Charumati Mataji to do the reading. Mataji, read one by one. First of all, read verse number 31. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. All the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes.
Hmm. So in the previous verses, like you saw from 23rd to 30, Brahmaji gives a testimony that Lord is the material cause. Previously, from verse number 1 to 16, Brahmaji explained the same point by quoting the Shastra, by quoting Shabda Praman from scriptures. Now, from verse number 23 to 30, he himself gives his example that when I had to do the creation, from where did I got these ingredients? I got these ingredients from the bodily limbs of the Lord. And now, in verse number 31 to 33, he is now kind of uh, summarizing whatever he has spoken so far. And in verse number 31, he's saying that actually, ultimately, the Supreme Lord is the shelter of everything. Yad Adhishthanam. So you remember question number 2 was Yad Adhishthanam. Who is the shelter of this universe? So again, the same thing has been repeated here in verse number 31. What Brahmaji is saying is that all the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. So again, the same point like what we discussed in the summary of the previous class, that the Lord is the cause of this material universe, but the Lord uh, does not come in the contact of this universe. He remains aloof from this universe. He manages this universe through his energies. He manages this universe through his energies. So everything in this material world is carried out by Lord wishes and directions. He does not do anything personally. Now, how do we understand he does not do anything personally? Say, for example, you are maybe a owner of a company, and somebody comes to your office asking for, sir, I am looking for a donor who has uh, who can donate blood. I am looking somebody who can donate blood, who has blood like O positive. And then you say that no, I am B positive, I don't have O positive blood. But then you make an announcement in your organization that there is a requirement for O positive blood, and somebody in your organization come forward who has O positive blood, and then this person goes together with the person who came to your office, and he makes the donation of the blood. So actually, who donated the blood? The blood was donated mainly by the person who had O positive blood. That person donated the blood. But in one sense, you also donated the blood. How? You arranged for it. You influenced this person, and through your influence, this person could go out and donate the blood. So, so in order to manage this universe, it is not necessary to have the same qualities of that universe. So the Lord is spiritual, but this universe is material, means it is made up of sattva, rajas, and tamas. So the Lord body need not be made of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Like for example, the CO, the blood composition of that CO is B positive, but he is making to donate O positive blood through his influence, through his energies. So similarly, the Lord, when it says that he is eternally without affinity for the material modes, he does not come in contact with the material modes. He manages everything in this material world through his Maya Shakti. The Maya Shakti creates, the Maya Shakti maintains, the Maya Shakti only actually destroys this material universe. So everything is done through the agency of the material universe, through the Maya Shakti. Similarly, uh, uh, another example, another analogy Srila Prabhupada gives in regarding verse number 31. He's giving the analogy of a rich man. Like the rich man, if he wants to construct a house, so he will arrange for a contractor. The contractor will construct the house. And similarly, if he has to demolish the house, again he will kind of invite some contractor who will demolish the house on his behalf. The Lord himself does not get involved into the creation part. The Lord does not get involved himself into the destruction part. But for managing the house, generally it is seen that the owner of the house himself, who is going to live in the house, manages it, maintains it, and so on. Similarly, for carrying out the function of this universes, the Lord arranges for Lord Brahma to create the universe. Lord arranges for Lord Shiva to destroy the universe. And the Lord himself, as Lord Vishnu, uh, will actually maintain the universe. So that analogy has been given by Prabhupada in verse number 31. And something like that we will see in verse number 32. Please read, Mataji, this verse.
By his will, I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself, in his eternal form, as the personality of Godhead, maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these three energies.
He is the powerful controller of these three energies, like creation, destruction, and maintenance. Now here, so verse number 31 was mainly answering the question Yad Adhishthanam. Adhishthanam means uh, shelter. From where does this universe take shelter? Uh, and then in verse number 32, he is answering the question number 5, Yat Param. Yat Param means you are dependent on whom? This material universe is dependent on whom? Uh, are you the Param, or there is more senior, more superior person to you? That is being answered here. So it is mentioned here by his will. By his will means Garbhodakshai Vishnu's will. I create. Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself, in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead, maintains everything. So the same analogy, like I gave you the rich man analogy, the rich man delegates it to the contractor for creation and destruction, but he personally takes interest in actually maintenance. In reality, he also does not do the maintenance all by himself. He does the maintenance also through his material energy like Maya Shakti. But uh, it is mentioned here that for maintenance, because it requires sattva guna, so the Lord Vishnu, who is the in charge of sattva guna, actually maintains through the Maya Shakti this material universe. He is powerful controller of these three energies. He is the powerful controller of these three energies. Three energies, Prabhupada writes in the purport, can be classified into three: Antaranga, Bahiranga, and Tatastha. So Antaranga Shakti is the spiritual energy of the Lord. Tadastha Shakti is the marginal energy of the Lord, and Bahiranga Shakti is the external energy of the Lord. So these three energies are mentioned. Prabhupada further elaborates these three energies, like for example, the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external energy of the Lord, can also further classified into three aspects, which is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And then the internal energy of the Lord also can be classified into three parts, which is Samvit, Sandhini, and Ahladini Shakti. What is Samvit Shakti? What is the Samvit potency? Samvit potency is the transcendental potency by which the Lord maintains his existence. And what is uh, Sandhini Shakti? Sandhini Shakti is the transcendental potency of the Lord by which he knows himself and causes others also to know him. And similarly, the Ahladini Shakti is the transcendental potency by which he himself possesses the transcendental bliss and causes his devotees also to have bliss. So you can understand this, like for example, when we are on the spiritual path, when we are trying to understand the various subject matter of the scriptures, etc. So it is the uh, Sandhini Shakti of the Lord. It is the Sandhini Shakti of the Lord which causes us to know Him, which facilitates us to know Him. Similarly, by doing these various spiritual practices, sometimes we get bliss, sometimes we feel good, sometimes we feel happiness. From where this happiness is coming from? This happiness is coming from the Ahladini Shakti. So, as I mentioned to you, the spiritual energy of the Lord, which is known as Antaranga Shakti, has three parts: Samvit, Sandhini, and Ahladini. So, Samvit means by which the Lord maintains his existence. Sandhini means by which the Lord causes, by which he knows himself and causes others to know him. And Ahladini Shakti means through which he possesses the transcendental bliss and causes his devotees to have bliss. So this is the uh, spiritual, which is the Antaranga Shakti. And the Bahiranga Shakti, you already know, it is divided into three parts like Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So also another point that we can understand from verse number 32 is uh, verse number 32 explains to us that Sanatan Dharma actually is monotheistic in nature. Monotheistic in nature. From this verse, it is understandable that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma both are actually subordinate to Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu. By his will, I create, and Lord Shiva destroys. So, by whose will? It is the will of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So, Brahmaji and Shivji both are subordinate to Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu is none but plenary portion, plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. So, uh, this verse explains that Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma is a monotheistic religion, because many people think, many people argue that your religion there are many gods, but it is very clear here that there is only one Lord, and that is the Lord Sri Krishna. And Lord Krishna expands through his different avatars, through his different expansions. He manages the affairs of this universe, and he himself remains in the spiritual world. So there are some quotations given by Prabhupada in the purport of this verse. He is quoting Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva Sarvamiti means Lord Vasudev is the all in all. So Vasudev Sarvamiti means, like for example, everything in this universe is belonging to Vasudev. It is everything that you see in this universe is the vibhuti of the Lord. So Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Similarly, another verse from Bhagavad Gita is Mattaha Parataram Nanyat. There is nothing beyond me. So again, emphasizing the point that Brahmaji and Shivji are actually subordinate to the Lord. So again, verses from Bhagavad Gita as well as verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, both are trying to clarify both these points. Okay. Read verse number 33, Mataji.
My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you. And you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and the spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Hmm. So he's kind of summarizing all the discussion that he had so far. More or less, he had answered all the questions that Narad Muni has asked Lord Brahma. So he's kind of summarizing here. He's saying, "My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you. And you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and the spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So, cause and effect means, like for example, we studied this process of creation. So, in the process of creation, how did we discuss? The Lord glances on the material nature which is in equilibrium, which is inactivated, and that we call it pradhan. So the Lord initiated the process of creation by glance. By glance, what does he do? He injects the kala and the jiva into the material nature. So pradhan is now impregnated with jiva and kala. Huh? So the cause of activating the pradhana is what? The Lord. And then pradhana then transforms into what? Mahat tattva. So Mahat tattva is the effect, pradhana is the cause. Then pradhana gets transformed into ahankara. So pradhana is the cause and ahankara is the effect, like that. Yeah? So either as cause or as effect. So ultimate cause is who? Ultimate cause is Lord Himself. Both in the material and the spiritual world, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Yat Param. Yat Param means what is the dependence? Who's the Supreme? On what this universe actually dependent upon? So Brahmaji is summarizing here that anything that you see, cause or effect, the ultimate cause is the Supreme Lord Himself. That is what he's trying to say. So now he's summarizing in one line that Lord is the cause of all causes. Like you will also read in Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam, in the verse number 5.1 of the very first verse of Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So again, that same point is being discussed in this verse number 33. And in Bhagavad Gita also, Lord says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I am actually the supreme cause. For everything is actually coming from me only. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. Like that. Okay. Now we go to the verse number 34. It is a very nice verse. So we will recite this verse also. So Charumati Mataji, kindly recite together with me.
Yes, Prabhuji.
न भारती में अंगामृषोपलक्ष्यते
न भारती मेऽन्य मृषोपलक्ष्यते
न वै क्वचिन्मे मनसो मृषा गतिः
न वै क्वचिन्मे मनसो मृषा गतिः
न मे ऋषिकाणि पतन्त्यसत्पथे
न मे शिशिकानि पतन्त्यसत्पथे
यन्मे हृदयोत्कण्ठ्यवता धृतो हरि.
यन्मे हृदौत्पत्त्यवत धृतो हरिः.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, please read the translation.
O Narada, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of Lord Hari with great zeal, whatever I say has never proved to have been false, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter.
So now you will notice that we have moved to the next theme of this chapter, 34 to 38. It is not possible to completely know the Lord. So in the previous theme, what did we discuss? In the previous theme, we discussed that Brahmaji is summarizing the whole discussion and saying that actually it is the Supreme Lord who is the cause of all causes. Any cause, any effect that you see, ultimately it is the Supreme Lord who is doing all that. Now, Narad Muni might think in his mind that I understand, my dear father, whatever you have described to me, that uh, you are saying that it is Lord Krishna or Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu who is the material cause. Garbhodakshay Vishnu is the effective cause. Garbhodakshay Vishnu or the Supreme Lord is actually the proprietor or the in charge of not only the material world but also the spiritual world. But how should I believe you? Why should I believe you? How can I believe you? Yeah. There are other philosophers also, there are other people also who try to describe this whole material universe as illusion. They describe that this is only the movie that is playing in our mind, some kind of an illusion. So there are different descriptions of material universe, the creation of universe, etc. How should I take your words to be true? So Brahmaji, although this question has not been asked specifically by Narad Muni, but the kind of description Brahmaji is giving from verse number 34 till verse number 38, he's trying to kind of explain to us or to Narad Muni that whatever I have said to you, you need to take my words to be true. And in order to explain, in order to substantiate, uh, he is giving different reasons here. He is different arguments. So first of all, he's saying, "Na bharati me angam rishopalakshate, na vai kvachin me manaso mrishagati." So what he's saying that, O Narad, uh, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of Lord Hari with great zeal, whatever I say has never proved to have been false. न भारती में anga mrashopalakshate. Mrasho. Mrasho means untrue, and bharati means saying, the speech or the words. My statements have never proven to be untrue. Na bharati me anga mrashopalakshate. Then he says, Navai kvachin me manaso mrishagati. And then, uh, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred. Navai kvachin me manaso mrishagati. Mrisha again untrue. Manaso means mind. Manaso mrishagati. Manaso mrishagati means my mind has never felt disturbed. My mind has never have deviated from the right path. And then Name rishikani patantya asatpate. Neither my rishikani means senses. Neither my senses has taken a detour or taken a deviation on asatpate. Asatpate means uh, by some by taking some other path, by taking some other process. And why I have been able to do so? Why my words have always proven to be true? Why my mind has always been steady? Why my senses have always gone under the right path? The last line tells it. Yan me hridayot kanthya vata dhrito hari. Dhrito hari. Dhrito means taking hold of, holding. Hari means Lord Hari. Hridayot kanthya vat. Vat means like. Hridayot kanthya vat. Hridayot kanthya vat means with great zeal. Hrida utkantha. Hrida means heart. Utkantha means anxiousness, eagerness. With lot of eagerness, with lot of charm, with lot of devotion. Hridaya utkanthaya vata. Hridaya utkanthaya vata means with lot of zeal, with lot of enthusiasm. Because with lot of enthusiasm and zeal, I have caught hold of the lotus feet of Lord Hari. That is why, that is the reason why my word have never proven to be untrue, why my mind has never felt deterred, and why my senses have never degraded by a temporary attachment to matter. Patantya asatpathe. Asatpathe means path of material enjoyment, path of attachment to matter. My senses have never gone on that path. And how that could be possible? That could only be possible, Narad, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of Lord Hari with great zeal. So this is something which is Brahmaji is trying to uh, Brahmaji might sound a little bit proud here. He's saying that my words have never gone untrue, my mind has never disturbed, my senses have never deviated, etc., etc. This sounds like that Brahmaji is sounding very proud, but ultimately he's giving uh, uh, the credit to the Supreme Lord. It is only because of the Supreme Lord's mercy on me. It is only because I have hold on to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord with great zeal, with great enthusiasm. That is why I'm able to behave like that. I'm able to prove my words always to be true, my mind always steady, my senses always in control. That is the only reason. So the main message from this verse is that we cannot know the Lord only by material endeavor, only by reading a lot of Vedas, only by doing some artificial sense control, only by trying to control our mind. No, by external means. We can do, we can prove our words to be true, we can prove our mind to be very steady, we can prove our senses to be always in under control, only and only we are truly devoted to the Lord. So the Brahmaji's main qualification being mentioned here is that because he is the devotee of the Lord, because he is always uh, attaching himself or holding on to the lotus feet of the Lord with great zeal and enthusiasm, that is the reason why Lord is protecting his words, his mind, and his senses. That is the main reason that he is trying to say here. And Brahmaji actually is the great devotee of the Lord. He is a liberated soul. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, "Na me bhaktya pranashyati." My devotee will never fall down. Temporarily, there might be some disturbance. It is possible, but ultimately, he will never fall down. I will protect my devotee's words. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshyami ma shucha. So the guarantee actually comes from the Lord. So that is the reason that Brahmaji is giving to Narad Muni, who may have this doubt that why should I believe your words? That this is the way the creation happened. Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu is the Param, he's the shelter, he's the ultimate dependent person of all this universe. How should I believe it? It is mainly because Lord Brahmaji is saying, because I have hold on to the Lord with great zeal and enthusiasm. So we'll look to the other verse also. Mataji, please read this also together with me. Soham samamnay mayastapomaya.
Prabhuji, please read it again, Prabhuji.
I will once again repeat.
Soham, yes.
Should I? Soham samamnay
Soham samamnai
mayastapomaya
mayas tapomaya
prajapatinam
prajapatinam
abhivanditah pati
abhivanditapati
asthaya yogam
astaya yogam
nipunam samahita
nipunam samahita
stamnadhya gacham
samnatya gacham
yata atmasambhava.
yata atmasambhava.
Thank you. Very good. Yes, please read.
Although I am known as the great Brahma, perfect in the disciplic succession of Vedic wisdom, and although I have undergone all austerities and am an expert in mystic powers and self realization, and although I am recognized as such by the great forces of the living entities who offer me respectful obeisances, still I cannot understand him, the Lord, the source of my birth.
Hmm. Now here in these verses, 35 verses, Brahmaji is taking a very humble position. And before he's taking that humble position, he's glorifying himself by giving his CV, his curriculum vitae. He's saying that these are my qualifications. And although I have these great qualifications, you can understand from these great qualifications that these qualifications really are very exceptional. And although I am having these exceptional qualifications, I still cannot understand completely the Lord. I cannot fully understand the Lord. So what he's saying, Soham. Soham means I am the great Brahma. I am known as the great Brahma. And what is my greatness? What is my greatness? Samam Nayam. Samam Nayam Mayaha. Samam Nayam. Samam Nayam actually means knower of the Vedas. Actually, when the Lord created this universe through Lord Brahma, all the Vedas came out from the mouth of Lord Brahma. And Brahmaji knows the Vedas in and out. He's the real knower of the Vedas. So Vedas came out from the Brahmaji's mouth, and uh, then what does it say? Perfect in the disciplic succession of Vedic wisdom. Samam Naya Mayas Tapomaya. Mayas Tapomaya means although I have undergone all austerities. So Brahmaji got this power to create this universe. How did he got this power? So when the Brahmaji took birth, then he underwent great tapasya, and because of that great tapasya, the Lord gave him that power to create this universe. So this power of creation of this universe actually come to Lord Brahma through the agency of Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So although I have undergone all great austerities and I am an expert in mystic powers, asthaya, asthaya yogam nipunam. Nipunam means expert. I am an expert in mystic powers, in yoga, in performing yoga, in meditating. And then, although I am recognized by such by the great forefathers, Prajapatinam Abhivanditah Pati. So Prajapati means, so when the Lord Brahma created this universe, he created these Prajapatis. So what was the main purpose of these Prajapatis? The main purpose of these Prajapatis was to populate this universe with living entities. So Lord Brahma created these Prajapatis, and he's saying here that I am recognized by as such by the great forefathers of the living entities. So forefathers of living entities are whom? Prajapatis. So the Prajapatis Abhivandita Pati, Abhivandita means these Prajapatis actually worship Lord Brahma and who offer me respectful obeisances. Still, I cannot understand him, the Lord, the very source of my birth. Tam nadya gacham yata atma sambhava. Atma sambhava means Atma Sambhava. Atma means Lord Brahma is saying it for himself. Sambhava means that I became Sambhava. I took birth only from the Lord. He is the source of my birth. But, but still I cannot understand him. Now, can you compare any other living entity in this material universe with the curriculum vitae, with the CV of Lord Brahma? Brahma is saying what? Brahma is saying, I am perfect in the disciplic succession of Vedic wisdom. So the Vedas came from me. They came from me only. So is there any other living entity in this material universe who can claim that the Vedas came from him? Nobody. Similarly, I have undergone all austerities. The tapa, the mystery, or the tapasya that Lord Brahma performed at the beginning of the universe, through which he got this prowess, this power to create this material universe. Is there any other living entity who has this item in his biodata? Nobody. Similarly, he is worshipped by the Prajapatis. Nobody is worshipped by Prajapatis. Nobody except Brahmaji. Nobody else is worshipped by Prajapatis. And uh, he is the very source of my birth. Is there any other living entity who directly comes from the Supreme Lord, takes birth on the lotus emanating from the navel of the Lord? Nobody. So Lord Brahma has these exceptional qualifications in his biodata. No other living entity in this universe has these exceptional qualifications. And that person is saying that uh, I cannot understand that Lord fully. I cannot understand that Lord. Brahma does not understand that Lord. So that is what Brahmaji is trying to say. So the main message again is that whatever qualifications you may have in your biodata, whatever material qualifications you may have in your biodata, you may be expert in reciting Vedas, you may be expert in knowing the Vedas, you may have be expert in creating tapasya. You may be worshipped by great people, but that is not sufficient for you to know the Lord. That is not sufficient for us to know the Lord. So the Lord can only be known by devotion. Lord can only be known by devotion. That is the previous verse. Hridayat hridau aut hridau aut kanthya hridau aut kanthya vata. So that is the main qualification you must have. That you must have the utkantha. You must have the real enthusiasm, real desire, real utkantha for the Lord. That is the devotional aspect in his prayers, which actually mainly the qualification of the Lord Brahma to know the Lord, who is the very source of Brahmaji's birth. And then yeah, so Brahma in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, although Brahmaji is saying that he does not understand the Lord, but he's kind of a little humble here, taking a little humble position. But Prabhupada writes uh, that we cannot know the Lord by material qualification, but we can know the Lord by devotion. In case of Brahmaji also cannot know the Lord fully, but Brahmaji can know the Lord to the extent he is devoted to the Lord. So that is what this verse means. And then Prabhupada also quotes some verses from Brahma Samhita. In Brahma Samhita, it is mentioned Vedeshu Durlabham. So in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is worshipping to Lord Krishna, and he is calling him Vedeshu Durlabham. Vedeshu Durlabham means you cannot understand Lord simply by the study of Vedas, the Vedantas. And then again in the same Brahma Samhita verses, it is mentioned Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau. Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau means that you are accessible to your devotee. That you are accessible to your devotee. So that is what is mentioned in these verses number 34 and 35. Okay, we now go to the next verse, which is verse number 36. Yes, Mataji, please read the English.
It is not possible to completely know the Lord. Even Lord cannot estimate his limits. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So, what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? Therefore, it is best for me to surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious and allows one to perceive all happiness.
Hmm. So even the Lord cannot estimate his limits. So in the previous verse, Brahmaji says that I cannot understand the Lord fully. Now in this verse, he is saying that not only me, even the Lord himself cannot estimate his limits. Now, how do we understand this? And we can understand it through a very some one analogy. Like for example, assume there is a very rich man, and just for the discussion sake, assume that he has all his wealth in one bank account. And this man decides to know what is his worth. So he log into his bank account, his bank details he just want to see. And he, for that moment, that particular moment, he kind of take note that his net worth is, say, for example, $50 billion, $50 billion. And then he closes his account. And he estimates that my worth is $50 billion. But as the time is progressing, every second, because the wealth is attracting some interest in the bank account, so the wealth, maybe in next 1 hour or maybe next 15 minutes, the wealth from 15 billion became some maybe 51 billion. So this person is thinking that my wealth is 50 billion, but actually his wealth is 51 billion. So the point is, this very great person, this very rich man, he actually also cannot fathom how rich he is. His wealth is increasing every now and then. Similarly, the glories, the omnipotence of the Lord, the prowess of the Lord, the power of the Lord, the extent of his material creation of the Lord is also growing. So the Lord may think that I may have created this much, but the next moment the material universe grows. And that's what Brahmaji is trying to say, that even the Lord cannot estimate his limits. So it externally it appears that it is something like a uh, limitation on the Lord, but it is not the limitation. The Lord can estimate his limits. The Lord can estimate his wealth, his power, but the moment he estimates his power grows. That is how he does not know how much he is. Then next moment he again try to estimate, but the power again grows, like that. So that is what the example has been given here. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? So Brahmaji is trying to say to Narad Muni that, Narad, you might have this doubt that my words might not be true, but others people are giving some explanation and so on. Now just imagine that I am Brahma and you understand that what are my qualifications. If you say that I cannot understand the Lord, you might be true in one sense that because the Lord himself cannot understand fully himself, I cannot, what is my position? I also cannot understand him fully. Uh, So, and if you are thinking that other living entities who actually were created by me only can understand the Lord fully, then you are kind of not fully understanding who the Lord is and how does it all work. So you need to really believe my words, that I am, when I'm saying that whatever I'm saying about the Lord, that the ingredients came from the body of the Lord, and this is how the universe came and all that. You need to believe my word, because I'm the person who is having exceptional qualification, but ultimately I'm devoted to the Lord, I'm surrendered to the Lord, and that is why you need to believe my words. And then he's saying Uh, even the Lord cannot estimate his limits. Therefore, it is best for me to surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious, allows one to perceive all happiness. So, this is what happens when we surrender to the Lord. The Lord reveals to us only to the degree we surrender to him. I say, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stathaiva bhajamyaham. So that to the degree the person surrenders to me, I give him the intelligence, I give him the knowledge to know me. To the degree he surrenders, to the degree I give him that knowledge to know me. So, so Prabhupada is saying that we ultimately have to surrender. Either we have to surrender to the Lord or we have to surrender to the material energy. If we surrender to the material energy, we are full of misery. If we surrender to the Lord, our life is full of happiness. We will not be again in take birth and death. We will our life will become very auspicious, and we will be full of happiness. So this is how we need to understand this verse. We'll go to the 37th verse. Yes, Mataji, please read.
It is not possible to completely know the Lord. 37. Our limitations to know the Lord.
Hmm.
Since neither Lord Shiva nor you nor I could ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness, how can other demigods know it? And because all of us are bewildered by the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord, we can see only this manifested cosmos according to our individual ability.
Hmm. So, since neither Lord Shiva nor you nor I could ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness, how can other demigods know it? Now, what being mentioned here, spiritual happiness means such surrender is all auspicious and allows one to perceive all happiness. So, from there, he is continuing in the next verse. Since neither Lord Shiva nor I could ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness, how can other demigods know it? So the surrender to the Lord brings happiness to us. But we cannot ascertain, neither I can ascertain, nor you can ascertain, nor Lord Shiva can ascertain. So if we cannot ascertain, then how other demigods can know about it? And because all of us are bewildered by the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord, we can see only this manifested cosmos according to our individual ability. So here Brahmaji is once again expressing his personal limitation to the Lord. And in the next verse also, you will see that he's continuing this limitation. But the point is, no one can know the Lord fully. There is nobody who can know the Lord fully in reality. Uh, but that does not mean that we cannot make an attempt to know the Lord, and we can attempt to know the Lord to those people who are understanding the Lord in the best possible way. And these people are like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Narad Muni. So although Brahmaji is saying that we cannot know the Lord fully, and Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that although Brahmaji is saying that neither he or Lord Shiva or Lord Narad Muni can know the Lord fully, but still they are the people who know the Lord the best. Whatever extent they know the most. And if we also want to know the Lord, we should actually follow into their footprints. We should try to understand the Lord through Lord Shiva or to Lord Brahma or Lord Narad Muni. They know a lot about the Lord, so we must follow their instructions. And that is how he's trying to explain it here. And then he's also trying to say that those who surrender to the Lord, to the degree they surrender, they can understand the Lord. And Prabhupada also in the purport gives this example that we cannot understand the Lord by our material qualification. And if somebody wants to know who the father is, he simply need to ask the mother, "Hey mother, who please tell me who's my father is?" And the mother tells that such and such person is your father. We accept mother's word. Similarly, Vedas are our mother. In Vedas, whatever descriptions are given by various personalities, we need to learn about the Lord through those descriptions. So like that, Brahmaji is kind of taking a very humble position that he cannot understand the Lord fully, but whatever extent he understands, we need to follow into the footsteps of Lord Brahma to ourselves understand the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Now verse number 38.
Let us glorify the Lord. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose incarnations and activities are chanted by us for glorification, though he can hardly be fully known as he is.
So in this verse, Brahmaji is saying that although we cannot know him fully, but what should we do? Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose incarnations and activities are chanted by us for glorification, though he can hardly be fully known as he is. So the main point of this verse is that rather than trying to know the Lord fully, rather than trying to know the Lord fully, we better surrender to him, we better serve him, we better try to worship him by doing Shravanam and Kirtanam. That is most important. Rather than trying to know the Lord more and more, we better try to surrender to him and worship him through chanting and through Shravanam and Kirtanam. And that is the main message of this section, that we cannot understand the Lord by our material capabilities, but only through the process of devotional service. And in the process of devotional service, Shravanam and Kirtanam are the primary processes. We can try to understand the Supreme Lord. So Brahmaji is taking here a very humble position as a position of a spiritual master. He is trying to explain it through his own example, how we can understand the Lord, how we can know the Lord. We can know the Lord only through by the process of surrender, through the process of devotional service. And it is not so important to know the Lord, but to glorify the Lord as per our capacity. So like we have this verse, Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriya sevan mukho hi jivvado swayameva sfuratyada. So if we try to understand the glories of the holy name of the Lord, we cannot understand the glories of the holy name only by our senses. But if we do Sevan Mukho, if we become service oriented towards the Lord, then automatically Sevan Mukho hi jivvado swayameva. Swayameva means automatically the purport of all the scriptures, all the Vedic scriptures all the knowledge about the Lord will be revealed to us in due course of time. So faithful hearing can lead to seeing the Supreme Lord. That is what we need to understand. So that is mainly the message from today's class. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Any comments, any questions, any takeaways you would like to share? Maybe we can discuss now. Thank you very much. Manish Prabhu, is the class clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. So the main messages that we have discussed so far is in today's class in particular was, so Brahmaji first of all substantiates from his own experience that the ingredients that came, he was personally involved in that process, and you will know that nobody else in this universe can claim that. Only Brahmaji can claim that. And then then in the next section he says that it is the Supreme Lord who is the shelter of this universe. He is the Supreme Lord who on whom the universe actually dependent upon. And if you are thinking, O Narad, that my words are not to be relied upon, then let me explain you my special position as Brahma. And it is not the material qualification that will lead you to knowing the Lord. It is actually because I am devoted to the Lord, I can know him. And even the Lord himself does not know him fully. So how can you say that other sages or other living entities can know him fully? So you need to rely on my word as I'm explaining it to you. So we also must take to the words of Lord Brahma to understand about the Lord. And the best way to know the Lord is to engage into his devotional service. Rather than trying to attempt to know the Lord more and more, it is better to serve the Lord more and more through Shravanam and Kirtanam, and that is how the Lord will automatically reveal himself to us in the due course of time. So that is the main crux of the story of the whole class today. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes. So
very nice class. Very nice class.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. So with that, we conclude the session today. If you don't have any questions, we'll continue to discuss this chapter. We'll conclude this chapter in the next class and probably start the next chapter, chapter number 7 also in the next class. So till then, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare-
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.